That's why I told you, from the beginning. China is not effective, and there's no way it's effective between Japan and China. That's what China risk is all about. If you want to hate someone, choose a collection agent. In the worst cases, they'll suddenly drop their proof while you're singing and force you to act like you're being bullied. What they're doing is just mean bullying, but that's the kind of country they are. They're a harassing nation. So, I'm going to tell you this seriously. The more you do it, the worse your impression will be. No, seriously, you'll just think, is China okay? China is probably just smart. See? You're probably planning to do it in the middle of a song, but it just makes people think that you guys in the international community are in a mess. Meanwhile, the underworld of politics. First, I'd like to talk about Hamasaki MI. Various concerts and events have already been cancelled, but in China, they've been cancelled one after another, probably from cultural exchanges to music events, but it's not just that. For example, something like an aviation award, where the self-defense forces participate, Japan is no longer allowed to participate, and that's how it's all going to end. I told you everything is no good. How many times do I have to tell you that China is not valid in the first place and that it can't be valid? That's what China risk is all about. Oh, and Amy Hamasaki was originally scheduled to perform in Shanghai on the 28th and 29th. It was a big concert. She brought along 200 staff members, including local staff, and there were a lot of customers. As I've been singing, there are people in other countries who love Japanese songs, of course, but if you're going to hold a grudge, choose the people from your own country. It was cancelled. At that time, Hamasaki said that just like our previous performances, 200 people from Japan and China worked together to put together the Shanghai stage over a period of 5 days. It took a long time. They must have built a big, luxurious set. But, I just think it's mean to do this in the morning, on this particular day. It's been smoldering for a while now, hasn't it? The Chinese Communist Party has been smoldering, hasn't it? If that's the case, they should have told us 5 days in advance, before they came, before they even set up their set. But that's what happens on the day they've already set up everything. It gets to the last minute, and as I'll explain later, in the worst cases, they'll suddenly drop their proof while we're singing and force us to do something. What they do is really mean, it's bullying. That's the kind of country this is. I've been saying this before. That's the kind of country this is. It's a harassing country. I've said it before. There's no such thing as a Japan-China relationship in a place like this. They look down on Japan, and they think Japan is being cocky. That's not true. In reality, China knows deep down that their technology is inferior to Japan's, but they taught them and say that all the kanji characters were somehow passed down to Japan. That's one reason why they think they're great, but another reason is that we have your honey trap, money trap politicians. They think, you know what's going to happen if you do this. You've been following our orders all this time. You've had a great time, haven't you? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? There are some of them who are so arrogant. Well, it's childish, isn't it? Yes, I'll talk about Badanamu later. And in the end, they announced that the concerts on the 28th and 29th would be cancelled. It can't be helped. Hamasaki had such a hard time. It took her 5 days to put together the set, and 200 staff members decided on it. She said she was sorry for the audience, but she said, it can't be helped. But she's amazing. She's a diva after all. Oh, and she's singing again back then. Yes. It was cancelled yesterday. Yesterday was also cancelled. The 28th. At that time, the Shanghai concert in China was held without an audience at the venue. There were no customers anymore, but I was there. Well, maybe. Maybe there was someone filming it and planning to sell it or something. Or maybe there wasn't a plan at that time, but for example, there was a possibility that it would be streamed later to the customers who came to see it or the customers who were supposed to come. So she sang anyway. And she even sang an encore. There was no audience. There was no encore, but she sang until the encore and performed her entire set there. Isn't that amazing? She went that far. But, I'm just interpreting it this way, but I don't want to give in to pressure. I was told not to sing here, but I said I would. Since the other singers weren't doing it, if I told them, oh, this is cancelled, they would just go home without saying anything. It would be a big shock, and they might be hurt, so you never know what might happen. It's like, oh, no, I'm done for. Actually, the Badanamu concert was forcibly cancelled on the same day or the day before, and the lights were turned off. They make you do things like that. You never know what China will do. Then, even though it was cancelled, they were able to sing anyway, right? Or maybe they would do something if you said it was cancelled. I don't know the details, but singing in a place like that made me think, that's just Japanese diva. I thought it was cool that she wouldn't give in to pressure from the Chinese Communist Party and the Chinese government led by Xi Jinping. Why do you think that? Well, there was something that happened before that. If it had been Amy Hamasaki, she might have done something like that. That's the kind of person she is. So I think she might have broken through and sang the Pope.
What happened was that Amy Hamasaki's speech on the 28th was the main focus. This is just my speculation, so I apologize. I'm having a lot of fun today. I like Hamasaki Amy, so I'm just guessing that she's a Japanese diva. That's amazing. I think she's Ayumi Hamasaki, so I think something like this probably happened. In fact, Hamasaki Yami was able to sing in a venue with no audience, showing that she's a true professional, but her lectures on the 28th and 29th were cancelled. What she said at that time was that she had no intention of interfering in areas where she had no knowledge. With that message, she said that she would cancel this one. Isn't that great? I really like that one line. I really like that one line. I think that singers and athletes have a right to express their opinions on social and political issues, and I don't deny that. There were some comedians who said things like, you guys are just ordinary people, and there are people who say things like, don't do this, or don't do that, and there are people who say things like, I don't care. But I think it's fine because people are free to express their opinions, but there are quite a few people who just say things that are too pedantic. They're too specialized. They're too specialized and too pedantic, and that's often seen in lyrics and artists. They're too worldly and too heady. What I want to say is that people are free to do what they want, but there are still people who are too pedantic. That world is peaceful. It's not good to be different. Let's get along well with people outside. That's what I think too. Everyone thinks too. That's my opinion. That's my opinion. When you look at reality, if you don't tighten up here and there, things will get really bad. The world will become a mess. That's what I'm saying. And I'm just an ordinary expert. I'm not an expert, but I'm studying, so I'll say this. But some artists probably want to gain more fans. Well, in order to gain a wide following, I feel like I can't really give a clear opinion. So I'm not going to criticize Amy Hamasaki for the parts one don't have the knowledge to do so. I'm sure there are a lot of regrettable feelings, as mentioned in the comments section earlier, and she may have studied it separately. I don't know. We don't know how much knowledge she has, but we don't interfere with it. This is true. If I were to say I'm going to perform in Shanghai or overseas, it's only natural that I would do it while keeping that in mind. If the situation changes, I have no choice but to go with it. That's how it is. That's how it is. If I were to think of any artist who has clearly stated this, the only one I've heard is Ayu Hamasaki. I commented on X that she was right, but I've never heard Amy Hamasaki say it before. It seems like everyone is interfering, and since everyone is interfering, if they're going to say something about China, it would be one thing, but if they have a complaint, they should go to China or say, I'm sorry for the Chinese fans, I prepared something, or something like, China is just like this, then I could understand that, but that's not the case. Many Japanese artists say that the world's prime minister interfered and that's what happened. Some people wonder where she's standing when she speaks from this perspective, but Hamasaki-san said that she has no intention of interfering in areas where she has no knowledge. That's what I've been saying all along. So why did she hold a concert on the morning of the 30th? And why did she herself hold a concert without an audience? That's just speculation, but I decided to do it here as a professional, and I decided what I would do. And the staff created this place for 5 days, and I have fans, including fans in Shanghai and fans in China. Of course, if Hamasaki meant, I said I was going to do it here, so why should I be stopped? Well, that's just my imagination, but since there are words like this, I'm not going to say anything or not. So, I think she's someone who clearly understands her position, and she's cool. She's already cool to begin with, but she's also someone who's released all these hit songs. I just think she's cool. She's definitely the representative Reba of Japan. Of course, I've been listening to older songs like Shin and Nakashima Miyu for a long time, but I'm at a karaoke company. I used to work at the head office of the karaoke company Joy Sound, so I've listened to all the music production data and so on, and there are a lot of people who sing good songs, but yeah. Among them, there are often times when I'm disappointed because they don't talk about things from Japan's perspective whenever something like this happens. It happens, doesn't it, when someone I used to be a fan of criticizes the Japanese government and Japan so much that I wonder if they've only been around for half a day. I sometimes feel like, what should I do with the songs I've been listening to? It happens to me. It always shocks me. It happens a lot with artists. When you really look into it, you realize that they weren't there for Japan. There are quite a few people who are more into that. Well, I don't really think about it too much. If the work is good, it's not without fault, so I sing along with that attitude. But when it comes to Amy Hamasaki, this attitude is so strong that I listened to Amy Hamasaki the whole time I went to the supermarket today and came back. And I think it will happen in the future. These kinds of lectures with Japan. This time, Hamasaki sang the entire show without an audience, including the encore, and maybe she'll use it for other things. Maybe it was to reach the fans who couldn't come this time, but she did it. But the Chinese government is really rough. They do things so roughly, and November 28th was terrible. There was something called the Batanamko Festival 2025. Here, the Chinese government's rough methods were really rough and awful. They even forced the singing to stop. I was so angry, everyone. It was horrible. I saw the video. It might be on YouTube or somewhere. At the event that day, Maki Itsuki, who is known for singing the theme song of the anime One Piece, was performing, but all of a sudden the music cut out, and her microphone was taken away. She was singing really hard, but all of a sudden the lights went out, and the microphone was cut off, and even the person herself had the microphone taken away by a staff member, and she was pushed off stage. It was so outrageous that she was completely confused and asked what had happened. She was forced to leave the stage. It was an outrageous thing to happen. I remember watching a movie called My Love Kinky that Leslie was in, and in it, when Leslie was dancing, she was in front of Japanese soldiers. At that time, Japan was in Nanjing, China, so she was in a place like that. When she was dancing, the soldiers suddenly rushed in and forcibly stopped her. That's what happened. I thought to myself, those people haven't changed at all. Even after hundreds of years, 100 or 200 years. There are no traps, and they suddenly force the show to end in front of the singers, performers, and fans, and they stop it like that. They say things like, since it's already started, can we please cancel the show from now on? Or, since we don't have a good relationship with Japan and China, can we please cancel it? I would understand, but they're doing it in front of people without any shame. If it were 100 years ago, I would understand, but it's different from the movies back then. It's normal to do that in this day and age. The same goes for the Ashikatai. The more you do this, the more stupid people are. So I'm going to tell you straight. I'm a collection agent for the Chinese Communist Party, and I won't be able to go to China anymore. Seriously, I'm really telling you. The more you do this, the worse your impression will become. Seriously, China is fine. They say they're the leaders of many countries in the world and the second largest economy in the world. It's fine. To be honest, by doing this, it's become widely known that China is a strange country. And it's become widely known to the Chinese people as well. Many people were scheduled to appear at this event, Bidae Namco Festival 2025. Well, first of all, no matter how much it was scheduled, I wouldn't like it if it was held at a time like this, and I would have refrained from participating. It can't be helped. The artists are not at fault. Artists can't say such things themselves. There are many people behind them who are putting money into it. So if they absolutely have to do it, they should do it. And then they come at the last minute like this, or they force us to cancel it in the middle of it, like, I told you so. China is probably smug about themselves. I told you so. They probably think they're canceling it in the middle of a song. But you guys are just being treated like crap by the international community. It's really unfortunate. It's not unfortunate or anything, but I don't think it's unfortunate. Itsuki was performing on the site, but due to unreachable circumstances, they had to cancel it at the last minute. They were scheduled to appear the next day, the 29th, but they've canceled that appearance as well. Well, that's right, we need to perform from our side. And Mamoru Kuroba was also scheduled to perform at this event, but of course, they canceled it. This is dangerous. In addition, Yuzumo, there are various issues with Japan-China relations, so they canceled, and J1, major artists, and Yoshimoto Kogyo's lecture also canceled. Well, I've been told this for a long time, and the money is flowing and the tickets are being bought, so if I can go, I'll go. There's no way China would stop me in the middle of my performance, so I guess I just thought, well, I might as well go ahead with it, but I've already said it. I've been saying it for a while. They're repeating the meanness that Japan needs. If they were to perform in China at this time, and if my child were to die, I would never let them do it again. It's impossible. It's scary. That's the kind of country it is. I hate it so much that I don't even know if I'll make it back alive. For spies, or something like that, and then people think, oh, maybe this person is a celebrity, but they were also a spy. It's been like that in China and Taiwan for a long time, and maybe in Korea too. But it's usually easier for people in the entertainment industry to get in, so even North Koreans will quit if they're in the entertainment industry. People in the entertainment industry will quit if their visas are invalid or something like that. That's why they use that to spy in various countries. So, people in the entertainment industry could be arrested for being spies. Do you think that as the dangers of China spread, Mr. Takaichi will stop Chinese immigrants from staying in the country? But do you think that immigrants from other countries will come instead? I don't know. At the very least, wouldn't it be enough if they just disappeared? Well, for now, yes, that's the right place. Well, after all, talk about China is still getting a little heated in a strange way. China is really mean and won't stop. And because they won't stop, China will never stop. Well, that's just the kind of country it's always been. Originally, China used to have a long history and was a proud country. However, China is no good now. It is embarrassing the world. It's like a wicked person. It's really harassment. It's harassment. But even if they do it, it won't cause that much damage to Japan. To be honest, some people who make a fuss say that you don't care about Japanese companies at all. But when I look into it, that's not the case. Even for fisheries, that's a lie. Japan won't be damaged as much as they make such a big fuss about. Rather, China will be damaged. Also, they keep saying things like, please don't come to Japan, but China won't cut them off. To be honest, everyone has been thinking about it a little bit with the current issue of overtourism. Since becoming a first-year high school student, I still have some doubts about him. I don't mean him, but the current government under him is the Liberal Democratic Party. The Liberal Democratic Party hasn't changed, so it's all about the inside. It doesn't really matter if Mr. Takachi takes over as the top leader, because the content won't change that much. But we can't help but have high hopes. In order to move forward and for Japan to improve, we need to raise our voices loudly. They want to win the election because they are very conscious of public opinion. So if we don't push or put some pressure on them, the LDP won't take the stance of helping Mr. Takachi even if he is the only one who changes. Finally, I thought that Japan was gradually becoming stronger and more reasonable. There was another incident where the Chinese ambassador to the UN said that Japan has no right to seek membership in the UN Security Council. Japan is currently in a position where it would not be strange for it to become a regular member of the UN Security Council, so this kind of talk comes up frequently. In response to this, the Chinese ambassador apparently said that Japan has no right to seek membership in the UN Security Council. Some people might think that Japan should just say, oh well, and not make a fuss. They might think, let's just keep quiet, but the Japanese representative exercised his right to reply. Well, China and the United Nations, there was Europe, and I think that people like this have finally emerged. I think that the young people of the future, the ones who will grow up to do diplomacy and make statements in the international community, will be incredibly strong. It's different from what Japan has been like up until now. Raising such children is the true meaning of internationalization. Internationalization is not about bringing in more and more foreigners. Anyway, what I've been saying all along is that Japan can finally say more about China and Europe at the United Nations. I'm really happy that more and more people who can say things like that are emerging. I really want to say, go Japan, go Japan, go Japan. I'll be rooting for them. I want these children to continue to work hard for Japan, with strong ideas like these. And what I've been talking about, forced diversity, is all about being strong in yourself first. When you're strong in yourself first, you can understand the other person's feelings, and you can understand why they insist on their own culture or religion, or why they give in. But you can't give in. You have to be fair to each other and talk to each other about these things. That's true forced diversity. And making concessions and understanding each other is what true forced diversity is. It's not just about absorbing things. It's also important to communicate. That's why it's so important to communicate Japan's position, and Japan's intentions. If we can't do that, we can't say that Japan is an attractive country. I think that the next generation will finally be able to do this, so I have high hopes for them. That's why they exercised their right to reply to the Chinese ambassador to the UN this time, and they clearly told him that what he was saying was wrong. I think that the fact that Europe has taken action is a step forward. Well, in the midst of all this Chinese UN ambassador is now saying at the UN that it's strange for Japan to seek a permanent seat on the UN Security Council. This in itself is mean. This kind of thing has been happening more and more recently, and it's not going to stop anytime soon. China will probably keep doing this. For a while. Maybe for a year. They're persistent, and the fact that China was thought of as a friendly country and a good friend of Japan in the first place, and that there were people who were saying that Japan and China were good friends, is abnormal. Where is the element of state ownership? Where is it in China now? Seriously, has China really done anything? They just said to Japan that they were making money, so let's work together on the economy. They did something because it was profitable. China did something. We're doing it, but we're changing the land in Japan, and we can receive welfare in Japan. What did China do? I don't really need it, but I think there are people who don't want to buy Chinese land or any real estate in China. Did you do something? You didn't do anything. Oh, you set up a honey trap for her, didn't you? That's all there is to it. Money, 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 honey, honey. That's all. What did Koichi-san say just now? Things are already messed up. Relations with China are falling apart. People who are saying, can't Koichi-san apologize, are also saying that from China's perspective. To begin with, this is a half-baked country that was never effective to begin with. This government has been kowtowing to this country for a long time, so when something happens, they're mean to us and put pressure on us. They've been doing it that way for a long time, and they're not changing their ways. China has tolerated this because of the previous governments and politicians. I understand that.
This isn't Koichi-san's fault at all. In fact, we should just give up on it. China should do it themselves. They don't know anything. And so, they've been kowtowing to China for a long time. We can't live without China. I'm like a woman who gets beaten up, like a woman who gets abused by a host or something, and I have to stick with her all the time. And even though she doesn't like it, if she has even a little bit of trouble refusing, she'll say, okay, I'm done with you. Quote, but she'll say, no, don't go. She's not available. She's not available in Japan. So just come over. Please come. Isn't it pathetic to keep saying, China, wait for me? Isn't it shameful? Isn't it embarrassing? Come on. Is this what you want Japan to be like? These people are still telling high school freshmen to apologize. Seriously, it's pathetic. Have they been living like this their whole lives? What kind of education did they receive to make them end up like this? That's why they lost their jobs, but I don't know. It's their own fault. How many times have I said this? How many years have I been saying this on this channel? How many times have I said we should decouple? Get away from China, stop depending on China. How many times have I said this country is not useful? And that we will be bullied when the Taiwan incident happens. Japan is on America's side. Then why are you on America's side? Why don't you just be friends with China? The reason is that they are communists and have no human rights or anything. Why should we be with such a country? Isn't Japan stupid? It's completely different. Our way of thinking. There's no way we can be together. You guys will be forced to work in forced labor camps. Japan did bad things in the past. You're worse than the United States. You'll probably be treated worse than them.
United States, you're not an idiot. At least, America is an ally. But I don't know how much the United States will help Japan. There are already plenty of allies. Taiwan may have its own feelings towards Japan, but that's okay. But let's work together, and that's enough for us, the new Japan. Well, this is diplomacy, or rather, in the international community, Japan values such countries, shows its intention to be friends, and shows its intention to be there for them if anything happens. That's important in the international community and diplomacy. So why are you saying that to Taiwan and making China angry? Did a country just go crazy for half a day and cause this? I don't know. Just get angry. Do whatever you want. Go ahead and lose. Goodbye. Live your life the way you want. China. Enough with China. There's no need to associate with someone who isn't even your friend, and they're mean. Who would want to work with a mean country? Seriously, there's nothing wrong with that. All the crimes happening in Japan are connected to China. China is the source of all the crimes. There's nothing good about it. They spy, they commit crimes, and even though it's officially the Kurds, they're connected to China. The thefts that the Vietnamese commit are all connected to China. It's all China. Pakistan has been making a lot of noise recently. They say they're Islamic, but I thought they'd mess up and disrupt the order of the country. But Pakistan and China are on good terms. What are they doing? It's China. It's all China. They're not trying to start a war with Japan or take over Okinawa or anywhere else with their new party. But China is trying to take over everything from within. It's gross. And reselling is also a big deal. Of course, they've lost their pride. Isn't China finished after hearing this? They may have had some good teachings in the past, and there have always been some weird people, but China is not respected by any country in the world. They're being told, no thanks, Chinese people. And even though there may be some decent Chinese people, they're being inconvenienced along with them. But you know, I feel sorry for the people in that big country. They're only being oppressed. It would have been nice if at least the Chinese people who come out were decent, but there are a lot of people who are well-mannered and shameless, so in the end they end up being disliked. That's no good. It's like the soul of a person is only 100 years old. Once someone has a bad personality, becomes crazy, or becomes shameless, they won't change even after they grow up, no matter how rich they are. Even if they are rich, vulgar people are still vulgar. Education is important, and I feel this again as a negative example when I look at China. If that's what Mr. Hashimoto said to me in the committee, that there are things we can learn from China, then I understand what he meant. I think he has a point. What Mr. Hashimoto said was a negative example, that he should look at the Chinese and correct his own behavior, but that we shouldn't become like them. We shouldn't become that kind of country. That may be true, but I think you'll understand if you watch the whole thing that he didn't mean it that way. China is a great power. It's wonderful. He said that he could go toe-to-toe with America and have a conversation with them. That was a bit of a hit with me. I was like, what's so impressive about that? What's so respectable about that? They've grown big by violating human rights, and they're barely paying any labor costs, and they're oppressing people from Tibet to Xinjiang, and they're making them work in concentration camps for almost no labor costs. I don't understand that. Yes, thank you for watching the video. That's right. Well, when I think about the China risk, I think we really need to think about how we deal with China. I think that in the future, when we rely on China for business, we'll have to take into account things like China canceling at the last minute. Well, this is, well, normal thinking, and I've always thought that things should be like this, but now that it's been made visible, I think companies are withdrawing from China and other trends are starting to emerge. I think this isn't just happening in Japan, but in the US and other countries as well. Recently, TikTok, a Hong Kong company, has decided to suspend monetization for Japanese users. It's really terrible that this is happening not just in regular business but also in the SNS marketplace. Yeah. When I think about it like that, I really feel that China risk exists not just in business but in everything. It's been a month since I've been doing this. Yes, so, thank you for watching today's video. Please subscribe to the channel, give it a thumbs up, and leave a comment.
What did you think? Please comment and subscribe to the channel.